It's okay, Wendy. I know your internet connection is patchy this evening. That's because you are in the beautiful middle of nowhere. You are in the middle of the nothing. Oh, gosh, the glare on the thing is very, very bright. I'm sorry. Okay. Is it better? Or is it just the time of night where there's a whole lot of screens and a whole lot of reflections?
I think just a whole lot of screens.
Right, so you may have noticed that we've tried something a little different with the microphone this evening. So I'm hoping that means that people are going to be able to hear us. Is that better? It's a little better.
We have a color that is...
Oh, gosh, I bonked.
We're taking a hit, Captain. Shielded down to
90%. Don't even. We'll talk about that. But, just ignore him. You're on a tangent already. I adore you. Hello. How are you, everybody? Hopefully the microphone sounds a little bit better this evening. Let us know. We've made some tweaks to things. I finally completed rebuilding everything.
She did everything.
Did somebody let Alistair have coffee?
Yes, that someone is me.
Yes, and drink more drink because somebody was dehydrated and needed some more hydration.
Speaking of which.
Yes, here, have some more hydration. Hello, Preemie. It's really nice to see you. Hello, everybody in the chat tonight. Hello, everyone who is not us, who doesn't have headaches, because the barometric pressure has been a right pain in the butt this week. And we're kind of reeling with headaches off and on. Not like migraines, but like, ouch. So, we're doing our best here. But we've made some tweaks to the microphone. We've made some tweaks to the lighting. We can warn people when Alistair's going on a tangent again because I have fixed the buttons.
Margaret made herself pretty new icons.
I made pretty new buttons because it amused me and because I taught myself how.
And someone had a birthday.
Yes, well, shush, let's not talk about the inexorable passage of time now, shall we? But we can talk about my birthday present if you want, which is a whole lot of chocolate. Like chocolate from his mom and chocolate from you and chocolate cake that I made. So there's been a lot of chocolate, and I made a pizza, which I really like. And then I got a subscription to Dropout TV. So we have been drinking deep from the well of Dimension 20 the last couple of days. And already patterns and trends are emerging, and it is very entertaining. And we're watching a space...
Starstruck Odyssey.
Yeah, we're watching a space odyssey, and there are a whole bunch of really bad Shadowrunners, which is hilarious. And we're having a really good time. So, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right.
It's kind of like a normal stream.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, it's... You find us at quite a weird time of the day and the week.
Yeah.
There's kind of a lot on at the moment.
Really bad Shadowrunners. Yes, they are. Dimension 20 is another group of live TTRPG players. I don't know all their names yet.
Basically, they seem to be largely a group of professional improvisers.
Which is very different from Critical Role, who
are a group of actors.
Who seem to be a group of actors. And more importantly, the reason why I really like Dimension 20 stuff is that most of their episodes are 2 hours or shorter, which is much easier to get through on a weeknight than a lot of the Critical Role stuff, which was like 5 to 8 hours, depending on particular episodes. And your girl ain't got time for that.
You see,
I'm sorry.
Brilliantly, this is all Dungeons and Drag Queen's fault. The first episode of which is on YouTube.
It is completely Dungeons and Drag Queen's fault. It is delightful. It is joyful. Bob and Alistair have the exact same sense of humor.
We really do.
We're all doomed. I'm enjoying it very much. And it's more importantly, it's like making me relax in the evening, which is something that, as most of you can guess, rarely happens. So very good choice on birthday present. Thank you very much. I love it. There's like 100 million trillion hours of it. So I'm very excited to have like a rich... This will be great. When SAG-AFTRA goes on strike in about...
An hour.
55 minutes.
Yeah.
And when the WGA remains on strike, and when they get to the point where they are calling for people to cancel their subscriptions to various things in solidarity, I will just have Dropout TV for like probably a couple of months, and that will be fine. That will be plenty.
I'm a recovering forever GM. I ran very long form games for about a decade.
And I played very long form games for a long time.
Basically every single one of the things which I ran embodied that on a long enough curve, everything falls apart. Line from Fight Club. They all fucking collapsed. It was always the same group of players, not casting aspersions on anybody. But sometimes groups just don't work.
And it's really refreshing to see how healthy and collaborative and cooperative and like not just story focused, but like we're all going to have a good time and we're all going to contribute focused modern gaming is. And I never got to experience that. And I'm really enjoying watching other people experiencing it as like their main experience, as opposed to me, who's like, recovering from whenever I watch this stuff and I'm like, oh, wow, things were really bad for me, weren't they? I learned all sorts of things.
All I'll say is this. When we were both regular tabletop gamers, we were both married. Do the math.
Let's just move on.
There you go.
I know you don't know Shadowrun from Mostly Fun City, a podcast in which...
Shadowrun is the second best cyberpunk role-playing game.
No, I will think you find that Shadowrun... Well,
actually...
Okay, we are a house divided. His self over there seems to think that cyberpunk is the way to do things, whereas those of us who grew up on the Earth Dawn Shadowrun axis know that Shadowrun is the one true cyber future environment. Thank you very much.
I was looking at with interest.
Yes.
It's the only one of the two rulebooks we still have.
All right. This is first edition, y'all. This is how old I am. This is my beloved first edition Shadowrun. Zach, Shadowrun mechanics sure are a thing. Yes, they are. The only other game book I have that is this old and this well loved is a 4th edition Champions book, and the original
and that had a ring binder
and the original Amber diceless role playing game. But yes, this my beloved first edition. The rules are not the greatest, but they let you roll fistfuls of d6, and that is very cathartic. So I love it very much. Oh my gosh. My beloved.
Whereas Cyberpunk 2020 is just that.
Isn't it the one with all the really crappy black and white drawings?
Oh, I could top the really crappy black and white drawings. Because yes, it is. It had very bad clip art in its first edition. And then when its third edition was released, which was very late, and very bad.
So long since I looked at this book now.
The original writer, it is in fact the same world as Earth Dawn. You're absolutely correct, Greg.
Earth Dawn and Shadowrun are in the same universe. They are in different time periods. That's correct.
The original creator for Cyberpunk had a bit of a brain fart and decided the best possible thing he could do instead of hire an artist was to get some of those really high-end G.I. Joes, the ones which are actually in tactically accurate gear. This tool, when I ran the shop, I once had a SWAT team come in and go, oh, look, he's got our stuff. That's great. That was terrifying.
And they took photos of them?
I believe they did, yes.
Oh, good Lord.
And they actually posed the kind of action mans in various kind of, look, I'm doing a cyberpunk thing.
Action man.
And it was a terrible game. It was also all in green ink for no reason anyone could figure out.
Yes. We all know the reason it was in green ink. You know the reason it's in green ink, but it shows her age, so we have to be brave when we meant. It's because original theater team monitors were green and black. That's why. Thank you.
The best computer I had was an Amstrad word processor.
Oh God, please, we can't do that kind of math. And I have to do more math. Well, yes, this is the magical time of year where I am 1 year older than Alistair's for like the next 4 months. I'm so much cooler.
Yes,
Amstrad CPC. Surely, Alistair, the plural was
actions men.
No, it's action mans. I think that's
action mans.
Action mans.
Look at my action mans, y'all.
Look at my action mans, y'all.
So yeah, we've fallen down the Dimension 20 rabbit hole, and it is frankly delightful.
It is delightful.
And
Brendan Lee Mulligan and eyeliner is delightful. Moving on.
Boy, he looks good.
He looks very good.
Real good.
And he's very talented and very smart and very compassionate, and I really enjoy watching him. Yeah. Which is fun.
So that's going on. And all the usual stuff, like the massive ongoing life changes we're trying to initiate, continue. And the
Hugos were announced this week, and we are not Hugo nominees this year.
Although Escape Pod is.
Escape Pod and Podcastle are both nominated again, which is brilliant, but we are not, and there was emotion, but it's been a week of chocolate.
There wasn't really that much emotion. There was like a day of sitting with it. And I mean, you know, the FOMO donkey is, I will not lie, wandering around the bottom of the garden from time to time, having a bit of a nibble.
No, you're not allowed to. It's not
anthropomorphized. And it is.
No, can it at least stay a black dog? I don't want it to be a dog.
The FOMO black dog.
Okay. Well, depression is the black dog. So FOMO with the donkey? Dog. Oh, good grief. We need to stop. This is
very talented.
This is getting very apparent.
Is nibbling around the bottom of the garden a little bit. But, you know, was that ever not the case?
If it helps your annual review at work today went well, that
is amazing news. Good job, KB.
I don't currently have a manager and probably won't for the rest of the year, so I don't even know if I'm getting reviews this year. But that's a whole other conversation.
And in the space of the last 4 weeks, I've been asked to come for a job interview and then received an email saying, by the way, do you mind relocating to Iceland? Yeah. The answer to which is yes.
Yes, I do.
Been bounced by numerous jobs, most of which have had over 500 applicants.
Yeah.
And the most recent one I got sent was do you want to come write about film and TV? Yeah, I think I do. It's remote. Brilliant. You'll need to work on weekends. Less brilliant. And you'll need to come into London for junkets. Get fucked.
No, sorry. I'm right there with you, Ozzy. Critical Role presented as kind of like a wall to me. Like, where do you even start? The short answer is, I think we're going to start with the animated series.
I was going to say, Ozzy, we actually figured out the hack for it. It's the cartoon. The cartoon is like Critical Role Espresso, you know?
Yes, there is a store here called Iceland, but no, they meant the country. You know, the one that's kind of erupting right now? It's having a little bubbly eruption as a treat.
Just as a treat.
Working out of one of the frozen vegetable freezers. I mean,
strangely enough,
be comfortable.
The video.
Pop-Tarts.
Strangely enough, the video to one of my favorite songs, "Better Days" by Citizen King, does revolve entirely around the band practicing illegally in one of those freezers, which are also rooms that only American convenience stores have. So, you know, that's where my brain went straight away. Fun fact: hit the button.
No. All right, fine.
That song closes the opening and final episodes of Malcolm in the Middle.
You don't know?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
You sure?
Although,
see,
Malcolm in the Middle leading man, Frankie Muniz, after doing the, actually I feel quite underrated Agent Cody Banks duology, would then go on to become a surprisingly successful stock car driver. And in fact, he actually won an award for niceness in stock car driving, which I just find... I know. Apparently, they give out a...
You were the nicest lap car.
Yes.
Okay. That actually sounds delightful.
It really does.
I'm here for awards for people.
It really does.
Nice.
You know?
I really am. So yeah, it's been an eventful week. I wish the weather would pick a lane because the barometric pressure's been doing a number on our heads. But at least it's not so warm at night that I can't sleep, which is quite delightful.
This is true, and I have been merrily making my way through the Missions Impossible.
Okay.
in preparation for 2 hours 43 minutes of the world's longest, most expensive midlife crisis, part 7.
Yes.
On Friday.
Here's your £5 note in a chocolate bar. Be gone. Go enjoy. Yes, that will be his Friday.
Run, Tom, run. Perhaps if you do that, the consequences will finally get tired.
Yes. Right. Let's go there. And our lovely Wendy is on vacation, enjoying a wonderful view, which she's sharing with us, which is nice. You got to the second one today, and the second Mission Impossible movie is the worst.
Kind of a piece of shit. It really hates women. I mean, it's a series which doesn't have a great record for the lady murderer at the best of fucking times. But
that was very follow me, I'm delicious.
Follow me, I'm delicious.
There's a brilliant TikToker who's an Irish guy. He always ends his TikToks with follow me, I'm delicious. And he's hilarious.
And he has a truly wondrous Irish accent because it's very much up here. And he talks all the time in this kind of cadence. And he does stuff like, you might be aware of the fact that currently there is a corruption scandal in Ireland surrounding RTE, our television station. And the thing is, this is the most Irish form of corruption there is. And he's wonderful. MI2 opens with free climbing a cliff and exploding sunglasses. Yes, it does. And then it really hates women for 2 hours. And then it stops. And then the series...
Well, no, the movie stops. It doesn't stop hating women. Let's be clear.
And then, as Doc Ponders pointed out, 3, which is really fucking fun, kind of goes, oh, God, sorry about that. Here, have this. It's good.
It's not lady murder. Right?
It's
less.
Actually, there's a bit of lady murder in 3, to be honest.
What's the name of the actress? Just go watch her in the Silo instead. She's really good.
Oh, Rebecca Ferguson, who's very, very good in the Mission Impossibles and Silo and Dr. Sleep.
Yes. 3 has a dog in it, very briefly. Okay.
It's a good dog, too.
Good. Hey! Hi, Naomi. How you doing? Nice to see you. Right, so let's talk.
The Queen of Vibes walks amongst us this night.
Queen of Vibes, exactly. And almost birthday girl.
Very proud of you for putting together that wish list, which you're going to drop in the chat now.
Oh, I see. We're strong arming. Okay. Well, that would be nice if you would name it, please. Right. So that's been this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel like we need to do an opening monologue now. I mean, we'll just natter on for a little bit more. Oh, look at that facial expression. That is the no chance. There's nuggies in it for you.
Okay, Naomi, if you do not want to drop your Amazon birthday wish list, which is very easily findable on the Amazon, by the way, in the chat, then that's fine. I will just content myself with telling everyone that Realms of Power and Glory continues to be fantastic. And Liminal London, which is the London supernatural game in which Naomi plays 3-card Monty, 17-year-old, just
chaos magnet
magician, is genuinely some of the most fun I've ever had listening to podcasts. It is so fucking good. I'm very proud of you.
There we go. Oh, fantastic. But yeah, good Hugo finalists. Well, kind of a mixed bag for Hugo finalists. I was really excited to see that there's a lot of Chinese native publications in the fan lists, which is great. I kind of wanted to see more there, but that's where we are.
Finish your thought, then I'll have
No, go ahead.
My victory condition for the Hugos, because it became pretty apparent sometime around month 3 of them individually whittling invitations to people, was that, our number probably wasn't up this year. Mm-hmm. My victory condition was that I reserved the right to be unhappy if we lost out to someone who was usually in that spot. And I would be very happy if we lost out to a Chinese fanzine. And we lost out to a Chinese fanzine, we're pretty sure.
That's totally acceptable.
So, that's fucking great.
That's appropriate. Exactly.
I actually follow one of the authors on Twitter. I'm considering having a little chat.
Nice.
Seeing whether they maybe want to do some stuff.
Sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I think that's about all I want to say about the Hugos right now.
There's some stuff.
They are happening. They are good.
It's at a very civilized time for us this year.
Right?
Plus, quite low impact in terms of emotional investment. Mm-hmm. So, have some lunch, maybe go to the pub, watch the Hugos. That's
very sweet of you, Naomi, but it's okay that other people get a turn. That's kind of an asset of this. The idea that there are different people who get centered and get the, have the conversation with them. I'm totally fine with that. That is appropriate. I wish there had been more change and not just the little bits of change that we saw in the fan categories. I wish some of the novels had been significantly different. We had a lot of repeat nominees this year, and in that aspect, I'm kind of grateful we worked amongst them.
You like this novella by this person? Well, look, they've done another one.
Yeah, or look, this one company that publishes lots of novellas. 5 out of the 6 nominees, I think, are from the same company for the 3rd year in a row. There are some opportunities for improvement, shall we say.
This is the point where a younger, more impulsive me would make a joke which was, whilst not off colour or mean, perhaps more belligerent than is intended.
So instead, we're going to move on.
Yes.
Because if you can't say something nice, you should at least shut your trap, as my grandma would say. But she would probably put it more nicely than that. And also, it's from the movie Bambi. But anyway, what my grandma would say is don't leave the house without a book and a hat. And I try not to do that anymore.
Yes.
My wee named Beelzebub says hi. Hello.
Hey.
All right. So let's talk about what we're going to do this evening, which is probably going to scare the pants off.
Oh, boy, howdy.
We are approaching big, bad, nasty endgame of the book, whose title I'm going to put up on the screen right now while I'm remembering. There is no Antimemetics division by Quantum, who is in the chat and who has been joining us most of this time.
Which we're really very grateful for.
And who we're going to do an interview with once we have finished the book, which is probably going to be
Next week.
We think we're going to finish next week, which means, Quantum, you're going to be getting an email from Ducky here shortly about doing an interview the week afterwards so that we can talk about it. And then we're not quite sure what we're going to move on to yet. Quantum has also written a fantastic crossover fan fiction between the Antimemetics division and the Control video game, which is really good. Or we'll, take suggestions. If you have other publicly available work that you think would be good for us to read, that sounds good. It is still the summer, so we could kind of change up the tone a little bit before we go into more autumnal creepy.
I'm sure Emma James has a couple of dozen stories. Look, this delightful young man has gone on holidays. Oh, God.
Not again.
Oh, the pants are haunted.
Not again.
Oh.
Exactly.
Certainly, sir. Welcome to Certain Death Manor. Don't mind me.
Let's just go to the beach and see this haunted tin whistle floating around in the water. I'm sure nothing will go wrong, right?
One day. Leaping from body to body, hoping perhaps one day he'll have a holiday that doesn't include ghosts.
So yeah, we're going to read a little bit, and then we will take a little break, and then we will do some slasher in real time with prompts given from the audience.
This sounds a lot like the professional dancers we follow on TikTok who let their comment section choreograph routines.
Somebody in Major. What's their name?
It's not Costume Net.
It's not. It's
Sarah Macrina, who is an Australian dancer and actress who has this running gag, and all very good TikTok accounts have a shtick, and hers is that periodically she'll just go, okay, choreograph a routine, and the first 20 comments in her comment section will be entirely random dance moves that she has to try and stick together.
Good grief. I do like the idea of you and Naomi writing something.
You know what? I think I do.
Live. We might have to arrange that. I could wrangle the chat while you did that. And by wrangle the chat, I mean throw really left curve suggestions. That sounds fun. Filed for consideration. Thank you, Naomi.
I used to write entire short stories in half an hour. About 25% of them were shit, but the other 75% were pretty solid.
There we go. Well, I'm sure we'll come up with something. We had a couple of other public domain ideas, actually. You have yet to do, if I remember correctly, scroll. Yes, I keep a list. Have we met? You haven't done The Signalman yet, have you?
How have we not done The Signalman?
I think you did The Signalman and Horror of the Heights for Rusty Quill years and years and years ago, but I don't think you've done them for
it's years and years. It's not years and years and years ago. It's not. I did
it twice. You're the one who said 3 times. Anyway, the other idea we had was some Mark Twain, jumping from Calaveras County, for example. But this is an audience who likes the spookiness, and we still don't have another chapter of Scarlet Hollow. There was another game we were thinking about playing as well.
Was it Pentiment?
Pentiment was a game that we were thinking about playing.
Was it Oxenfree 2?
Oxenfree 2 is now out, and the original Oxenfree was delightful and terrifying, and I loved it.
Was it Killer Frequency?
I don't know what Killer Frequency is. Remind me.
It is the 1980s. You are a DJ at a local radio station,
good God.
And the serial killer is on the loose. It has been described as Pontypool the video game, which is going to make 3 people in the chat go, fucking what? But basically, you have to save people in the town by guiding them around, avoiding the serial killer, and also avoid him finding you.
It has Shogo in it? Hobbs Barrow? Okay, cool. Wendy and Ducky, can we kind of try and capture some of these ideas? It sounds like...
Oh shit, Hobbs Barrow is literally an M.R. James point-and-click adventure game. It's, you are on a train going somewhere to the excavations of Hobbs Barrow. Oh, your face! Your possessed face! It looks pretty good.
Okay, put that one on the list. Pontypool game does not sound like a safe thing to stream.
Or a really safe, fun thing to stream that wouldn't go badly.
We would have to, I think, play it a little bit in advance and be like, are we okay with this or not? Or at least we'd have to give people a whole lot of warning about, behold, there will be murderous jump scares for the evening.
Also, Pontypool is a very, very good film. Don't watch it at night.
It's one of your favorite movies, though.
I love it. I love it.
I know you love it to death. Anyway, so yeah, we'll come up with something. Dear Scarlet Hollow, dear Black Teppy Games, please can we have some more shinies? Thank you very much. We love you. Bye. Exactly.
But also, please don't rush.
The excavation
of Hobbs Barrow. That's the one.
Barrow is the name. Okay, good to know.
And it has the buttery man vocals of Shogo in it.
Also, Tavi have been in deals with Beacon Pines.
What is Beacon Pines?
Okay. I don't know what Beacon Pines is. But didn't you say some of the Critical Role actors were in Quarry Lake?
No, Dimension 20. The Quarry is the spiritual sequel to Until Dawn, which is one of my favorite video games.
Yeah.
It is the 5 young people go to an abandoned mountain lodge. What could possibly go wrong?
It's a party game.
Death.
It's designed to be couch co-op with Beacon Pines. Here we go. Cute and creepy adventure set within a mysterious book. You play as both the reader of the book and its main character, Luca. Ooh, okay. Okay, that looks interesting too. And it's sort of that whole genre of couch co-op. You get a group of friends around together and pass the controller around or play on your phone and play, which is really great for Halloween. We did it one year for Halloween. It was a whole lot of fun.
Talk to Me is the Australian horror movie about the Hand of Glory and the possession and the Freylaban, yes?
Is there a Karnaki the Ghost Finder RPG?
I have it.
RPG? Really?
Yep. Marcus L. Rowland is a legendary TTRPG designer in the UK, and Marcus was one of the people who introduced me to the concept of out of copyright fiction. He has done about 15 things called Forgotten Futures, which are basically a GURP-style rule set with world books based on classics of now very out of copyright science fiction literature. He introduced me to the 2 science fiction stories Rudyard Kipling wrote, to George Chetwynd Griffith Jones. That's a
nice name.
Isn't it great? The Grand Tour, which is an adventure novel about a young couple who go on honeymoon to all 9 worlds. All of this kind of stuff. And there's definitely a Karnaki in that.
Wendy's still voting for Mark Twain's A Ghost Story as well, which is another good one. Also, I would totally see you leading Preemie and others through a role-playing game based on Karnaki the Ghost Finder. That would be amazing. We didn't even read the Karnaki stories yet, have we? Oh, wow. We got crap tons of stuff to do here. It's just a matter of, picking one. That's the problem.
Picking one.
Pick one and stick with it.
Naomi, as soon as I see Talk to Me, which will happen during the daytime.
Yeah, where it can't get him.
I'm going to.
Right.
We will chat. We'll discuss.
Yeah, and I agree, Goblin and everybody else in the chat who said that it sounds like Slay the Princess will be coming out later this year. Good. Take all the time you need. Do it right. Do it sustainably and healthy. We will wait. We will wait with our wallets. and then we will give you money and love on spookiness altogether.
To be quite honest, you want to talk about the one positive upside to the fact that every single video game company is laying people off by the ton right now. It's that you can produce a very, very well thought out game which works perfectly and sells well.
Preemie the Ghost Finder does have
Preemie the Ghost Finder.
I can see the fan art, right?
Right.
I mean, are you going to do a pith helmet as a little bug?
You got to do a pith helmet.
Yeah, exactly.
You can take all the time you need. You can produce an amazing game, and then some feral shareholder will just slash 70% of your stuff anyway, which is not positive, but at least it means that crunch really is a lie now.
Yeah. Got my electric pentacle all set up here. I still think you may enjoy Red Strings Club when it comes to
I've heard very good things about Red Strings Club.
Sounds cool. All right. So thank you very much. We now have a few billion suggestions to go and investigate. Maybe what we'll do is after the interview, we'll have a little hangout session and we'll think about we'll have people vote. Do you want another piece of fiction or do you want a game? And
interactive content.
Live interactive content.
Did I tell you one of the 15 Silent Hill games coming out is a interactive live stream one where you vote for outcomes?
No, people are mean. No. Silent Hill is one of those deep, personal, terrifying experiences that I like to have where all the monsters get me in the headphones. I don't want to play with people. That does not sound enjoyable at all.
In this house, the Little Mermaid song is I want to go where the people aren't.
Usually after a day out in town. Yes, exactly. Look, why don't we take a little short break because we've been rattling on and Alistair has drained
Naomi's redeemed hydrate.
And he's drained a third bottle of water and needs another one. So we're going to take a little 3-minute break. Why don't you join us in getting yourself a beverage if you do not have one? And perhaps, something cuddly that you can hide behind. Chat playing Silent Hill. Oh, God. I love those games. They terrify me so much. Pyramid Head, you're approaching me? Punch him in the face. What can go wrong? Have you ever tried swinging that pipe? In Silent Hill 2, it does not go well. No. That game's about running and hiding.
I've never played one.
I've read someone's PhD thesis written on the Silent Hill 2 game.
Actually, I'm lying. I have played
all the soundtracks.
I have played, and this will sound like I'm making it up. I have played the Silent Hill first-person shooter.
That's right, you did. No, I played
the arcade only games. Silent Hill first-person shooter.
Are you taking off? No problem, Naomi. Have a good one.
Have a good one, Naomi.
I played the first 4 games. I have all the soundtracks on heavy rotation on my phone. How is this hill silent if the whole chat is standing on the hill throwing?
Get him! Fucking get him! He's got a stupid pointy head. I wish to wife him. Just that.
So, okay. My favorite Silent Hill story, quick, 5 minutes before the ad break's going to force itself to run. Right before the first movie came out, I was like, right. I want to refresh my memory about how the first game starts and see if they're going to do anything similar. And so I sat down and I played the first half an hour of the first game. And then we went to the movie and I kid you not, it was exactly the same.
Beat for beat.
It's beat for beat. It's the same song on the radio. He's still driving in the same type of pickup truck through the same sort of fog, past the same sort of sign. I loved the Silent Hill movies. They were not like the games, but they were they very much occupied the same space and told the same story from different perspectives, which at the end of the first movie, you understand why and how they were told from those perspectives.
I also
brilliant.
Also have a very clear memory of going to see Silent Hill 2 in Nottingham with you and 3 teenage Silent Hill cosplayers who we had a very nice conversation with on the tram on the way.
Yeah, exactly. That was a lot of fun. I love those movies. I love those games. That game was also the one where I played the demo for PT. And that game's okay. In the demo for PT, there are 3 rooms, and you go in a circle.
We still have it, and you shouldn't.
You just go in a circle. You just go in a loop, around and around and around and around. And I'll tell you this: and if you've ever played a Silent Hill game, you go. One of the rooms is the bathroom, and now you're going. That game scared me so bad that I launched myself backwards off of the chair I was sitting on. I hit the couch behind me. I yanked the controller out of the console and ripped the wires off the charging cable. It scared me so bad. And I will tell you, I can tell you something, but I don't want to spoil it, but you can't really play it anymore now. It's not available anymore.
If you, I think there are rips of it in various places, and if you never deleted it, like we did, you can still play it.
Have it. And what they released a technical making of thing. Turns out that the thing that's trying to get you is actually behind you the entire time.
It's your backpack.
And you can never see it until they want you to see it. And then it's just right there. And it's freaking terrifying. It's hilarious. Amazing. I love it. I love Silent Hill.
I'm gutted that we never got the Norman Reedus fronted Silent Hill as a result. But we did get Post-Apocalyptic Utilities Repairman as a result.
I know. And you've put 70 hours into that game.
120.
Oh my God. And you're still on chapter 3 or 5?
Oh, 15.
Jesus. It takes her time, is what I'm saying. Right, we're going to go take a break. He's out of water. You might be too. Do you need a snack? Does somebody need a snack in your household? Does pets need food? Do pets need snacks? Does anybody need a medication? Do you need a cuddly toy? Because when we get back,
it's getting grim, y'all.
Read some grim and scary stuff, all right? So take yourself a little break, and we will be right back. right, everybody.
I got my villain lighting back.
You got your villain lighting. You do kind of have your villain lighting back. I feel like I should turn the lighting up. No, it looks good. It looks good. So, as a reminder, I'm about to
send evil robot doubles of Bill and Ted back in time. I love this.
They Melvin. There we go. No, you're Denomalous, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's how old I am. Now, what is your mission? Anyway, okay. Sorry, I love that movie. It's ridiculous. It's stupid, but it has a great soundtrack.
That Ridley Scott Napoleon movie doesn't have him successfully eating all that ice cream in San Dimas. I'm not going to be happy.
We don't have time to unpack all that. Let's just move on. As a reminder, folks, if you've missed previous installments, there is a playlist of all the previous installments available for you.
Amazing. There's also an amazing book.
A Dramatis Personae that we try to keep updated as we go along, which may contain spoilers. Speaking of spoilers, the full content warnings may very well contain spoilers. The headline content warnings for this evening are common phobias, death and dying, horror, mental health and trauma, socio-political themes, violence, drug use, smoking, swearing. There is a whole lot of scariness this evening going on. And for some reason, the captions have decided they don't want to function. We'll give those a few minutes and see if they hopefully come back. But this evening, we are starting on the chapter entitled Wild Light. And we've got 2 chunky chapters for you this evening. So do you want me to start the ball rolling with this?
Please do.
Because if I remember correctly, you will...
A lot of this chapter is me talking to me.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll give you a head here. Sorry. Now everybody's yawned.
Look.
You're welcome. Wild Light. The meeting room is containment unit S167001006, which is the skull of a stillborn Cryptomorphia gigantis. The hollowed-out space inside the skull cavity is a prototypical Vegas room, the place where what happens stays. People go in, they come out, their memories are sieved out of the universe as they leave, and they remember nothing. The skull was acquired in the 90s. The information suppression effect is a byproduct of the species' natural antimemetic camouflage, a phenomenon which rendered the colossally tall creatures somehow nearly impossible to observe in the wild. It's a phenomenon Dr. Bartholomew Hughes and his team spent 5 years figuring out how to replicate. They've got it now. They can synthesize C. gigantis bone, extruding it in prefabricated pieces from steel grids. They can bolt the plates together to make hermetically sealed boxes. Passive mimetic insulation. No need for complicated machines. It's got a lot of potential. The skull is nearly 45 meters long, 17 wide and 15 tall. It resides at the center of a vast, purpose-built containment unit of its own, surrounded by the rest of the same C. gigantis individual's bones, laid out in meticulous radial patterns for space efficiency. The ossuary occupies about a third of the containment unit's floor area. The rest comprises immense industrial vessels which hold its harvested organs. Some of them are actual vessels, repurposed cargo ships loaded with brain matter and skin tissue. The floor plan of the warehouse is clear enough, navigable, if grim. But from ground level on foot, the place is a vertiginous. Ooh, that's a good word.
It's a good word.
Vertiginous, intimidatingly macabre place, even fluorescent lit around the clock. Hughes walks down an echoing canyon created by, on his left, 100-meter-long foreleg bone, and on his right, the blue steel container holding the creature's first stomach. Ahead, the skull peers down the canyon at him, a distant yellow-white tower fuzzed with scaffolding and disused scanning rigs, its eye sockets vacant black. As he walks, Hughes has to remind himself continually that these are all the remains of a single organism, one of the tiniest examples of its species. Behind the skull, where there used to be the creature's first neck vertebrae, There is now a large compound mechanical airlock, a ramp, and some steps, and a staging area. The staging area serves as a miniature customs desk, tracking every person and item entering and leaving S167001006. Although memories are wiped on exit, written and electronic records emerging from the interior have to be handled manually. Standard procedure is for the first person exiting the room to bring whatever written instructions for the filtration officer, telling them what other information from the room interior needs to be scrubbed and what is safe to retain. Usually the list of information to retain is very short. There are seats, scanners, a coffee machine, a trolley loaded with cleaning equipment, and a stack of cages for the germs. Parked just outside of the staging area, there is also a limousine. Bulletproof.
Where's everybody else?
Hughes asks as the Foundationer who meets him, whose name is Bachner.
I'm not late.
This way, please, she says as she leads him to a seat near a scanner. Hughes has gone through this procedure a dozen times now, so he knows to hold out his left arm. Bachner tears the wrapper off a sterile bracelet-like sensor and clamps it around Hughes's left wrist, then observes a nearby scan. They went in almost an hour ago.
Hughes frowns. That's not usual. Why would they tell him a different start time? Why would they need an hour of preparation before he showed up? Did they say anything?
Of course not.
Hughes hasn't the slightest clue what this meeting is about, or what any of the previous meetings were about, or even if they have a common topic. Actually, he does have some clues. The timing of the meetings is one. The first took place early this year, and when they emerged amnesiac, they were clutching written instructions from themselves to continue meeting monthly. Around October, the meetings became weekly. They had 3 last week. And after Friday, they created a new schedule. They meet for 90 minutes every morning, starting today, Monday. A more significant clue is the list of attendees. Other than Hughes, 3 high-caliber researchers from his own organization are in attendance, along with the directors of Sites 41, 45, and 167, the last of whom is Michael Lee, the Foundation's chief of ANTIMEMETICS and Hughes' direct manager. He steals a glance at the car parked behind him, and there is also this guy. Or gal. Hughes doesn't know for sure to whom the limo belongs, but the list of people in the world who have the authority to drive a street vehicle into a Foundation containment building is extremely short. Well, not to prevaricate, it's 13 people. There is an O5 in the room. An O5 is extremely interested in their covert discussions. This is a new and non-trivially alarming development. He nods at the car. Shouldn't this place be lousy with private security right now?
Bachner shrugs.
Anybody go into the unit with the O5? Bodyguard? Anybody stay in the car?
No.
Hughes glances at the car again. The windows are tinted, though surely there's a driver behind the wheel at least. Where's the real protection? Maybe it's all invisible. Microbes, occult spells of warding. Feels like the car is watching him back.
Open your mouth, please.
Bachner puts a disc-like cap on Hughes' head, presses an emitter to the roof of his mouth, and fires 2 pulses of radiation through his brain.
Any psychic intrusions?
Muffled by the emitter, Hughes manages...
She pulls out the emitter and discards it. Did you experience REM sleep in the past 12 hours?
He wipes his mouth. Yes.
How many digits do you have?
10.
Count them for me, please.
Hughes spreads his fingers and counts them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. His right thumb is 5. Bachner injects him with a substance which will prevent his body from rejecting the germ, then lifts a germ out of one of the cages. It splays its tendrils out, confused. It is not a fan of being picked up.
Tilt your head back and look at the ceiling, please, eyes wide open, and if you could take off your glasses.
Hughes obliges, handing his glasses to Bachner for scanning. I dislike this part, he states.
Bachner has no comment. She lays the germ over his eyes like a sleep mask. There's a cold, sludgy sensation as it wraps itself around his chin and hair. Then the tendrils meet behind his neck and begin knitting with his spine. Hughes sees darkness for a few worrying seconds, then a circular indentation forms in the germ's hide over the top of his right eye, and there's a feeling like part of his brain dislocating, and a fake eye opens where his real one would be. The fake eyeball is around 4 times the size of its own. Though it's singular, its 4 pupils grant him decent depth perception, and he can see a little way into the ultraviolet. The germ is acting like an external block of short to medium-term memory, and as a proxy between the conscious Bart Hughes and the real world. When the meeting is over, the germ will be removed and incinerated, along with all memory of the meeting. There are other anti-nemestic approaches: gas, injectable drugs, surgical techniques, occult rituals. These are safe, proven technologies for mass use on the general public and Foundation staff alike, but they all operate on the same essential principle: the unwanted knowledge has already entered the mind and must now be removed or suppressed after the fact. Such procedures are imperfect. Memory removal can leave critical fragments behind, occasionally enough for people to rebuild dangerous holes. And nemestic technologies for causing suppressed memories to reassert themselves are continually advancing. Recent developments on the latest generation family of biochemical mnestics, Class Z, seems likely to produce a substance which renders all after-the-fact memory erasure techniques irrelevant. The only amnestic defense against Class Z will be decapitation. So if there's advanced warning time, it's better to physically compartmentalize, to air gap, to outsource the memories to another organism entirely, and never let them touch your own mind. You can't be forced to recall something which you genuinely never experienced. It's a complex and dynamic field, one of several fields in which Hughes is a world expert. There are machines which could perform the same task as a germ, silicon modules you wear like a headset, plugged into a surgically implanted jack behind your ear. But Hughes would rather die than to submit to interfacing his brain directly with a computer, especially a Foundation-made computer. Nobody is getting his brainwaves. When he joined the Foundation 30 years ago, he put a DNU in his will, do not upload. Everybody thought he was crazy. Of course, using both the germs and a Vegas room feels rather like overkill. That's another clue. Your belongings have been scanned, Buckner tells him. He refills his pockets and takes up his laptop, walking slightly unsteadily because of the new height he's carrying on his head. He climbs the stairs to the airlock.
Hughes would be the first to admit that a typical Foundationer has appalling taste. A typical Foundationer picks brutal functionality over aesthetic pleasure 100 times out of 100, and a depressing percentage of Foundationers don't even comprehend that there is a distinction. Hughes sees this reflected in the architectural choices and interior design of the Foundation's buildings and offices, and in its labs and containment facilities, which commonly cultivate a hopeless, bleak cliff edge atmosphere. He sees it in its machinery, its devices, its tools, and even its font choices. Hard edges, clashing colors, failing aircon, impersonality, clutter, claustrophobia. And so, S167001006's interior is a surprise and a delight. Hughes actually sighs. It seems like someone hired a designer. The place is spacious and modern, well lit with select walls painted in bright secondary colours. There's not a bit of exposed concrete anywhere in sight. S167001006 isn't a single space, but rather a self-contained suite laid out on 2 floors. There's a central meeting area with a double-height ceiling, a long oval table, and Herman Miller chairs. Along the left wall, there are smaller breakout meeting rooms with frosted glass walls and doors, and above those, reached by a flight of stairs, there's a kitchen area, and in the back are some additional rooms, restrooms, and storage. The carpet is grey and orange, a non-repeating hexagonal pattern. The place is well ventilated. It smells of coffee.
There are 4 people waiting for him. Marion Wheeler, who runs Site 41, is descending the kitchen stairs holding a steaming disposable cup. Graves, director of Site 45, is at the main table, typing on a laptop. Michael Lee is at the back of the room, chatting with 058. All of them are wearing germs. The 4 huge eyeballs of the 4 germs swivel in unison to stare at Hughes as he comes in. It's a highly disconcerting effect. Hughes forces himself to smile back.
"You're here," 058 says. He is strange looking, even accounting for the germ. Hughes has never seen an 05 before, and 058 looks very unlike what he expected. He tries not to stare, but his own germ is extremely good at staring. "You're all caught up?" Hughes asks. The nature of the asynchronous work loop is such that the first quarter of any meeting in a Vegas room is spent reading notes left from prior meetings. Hughes' correct, in this instance, guess is that there's been an hour-long pre-meeting, and then everybody broke for coffee, and now they're resuming. "We are," 058 says. He takes a seat at the head of the table, with Graves to his left, Lee to his right, and Wheeler to Lee's right. 058 indicates a particular vacant chair opposite Wheeler, where a printed document is waiting for Hughes to read it. Hughes sets his laptop down, hesitant to approach the document. "You want me to read this now?" "Take as long as you need." "Where's my team?" "We're 3 bodies short." "Read the document, Dr. Hughes," 058 says. He seems upbeat. Perhaps he's projecting an upbeat facade to help Hughes forget exactly how much authority and power he wields. His net worth is said to be essentially infinite, and it is not really about money at his level. He and his kind can do anything. Hughes sits and reads.
The document is a scientific paper purportedly authored by Hughes himself, with various of his fellow researchers co-authoring, including 2 who should be in this room now. Hughes doesn't recognize the paper's title or content, but that's nothing special in his line of work. The text is written in his own formal academic style, so he has no reason to doubt its authenticity. It's a brisk read, very dense and to the point, written for a target audience of other memetic scientists. In the abstract, it announces the observation of a new titanically powerful and dangerous antimemeplex, provisionally designated SCP-3125, for which the authors plan to seek Apollyon classification. The main body of the first page describes 8 different phenomena, but not all of them anomalous. Most but not all of the anomalous ones controlled by the Foundation and having other SCP designations. From a cursory glance, the phenomenon appear to be totally unrelated, either to one another or to the proposed 3125. Hughes suspects he could derive the implied link between them given a few minutes, but elects to read on. He flips the piece of paper over. The whole document is just 2 sides of A4. The other side is mostly mathematics. There's 1 graph and 1 equation and a brief technical description of 2 highly novel memeplectic transformation procedures, which the authors dub amplification. Then there's
something like a jump scare in text form. There's a crucial logical leap, and for Hughes, the arrival of comprehension is so blunt, so sudden and frightening that it physically startles him. Even knowing that the word Apollyon was on the table, even primed to expect something really very nasty on this side of the paper, he still recoils. "Oh, fucking hell!" Nobody else says anything. They wait expectantly for Hughes to gather his thoughts and draw some conclusions. He reads the rest of the paper, figuring out what it's going to say almost live as he reads it. As he reaches the end, the initial shock has not worn off. The sheer scope of SCP-3125 is a significant distance beyond his current comprehension. He has had a glimpse of it through a keyhole. He would need time in front of a computer to play with the results to get a grasp of it. No, he needs to build filters first. the equivalent of lead-lined gloves, to let him manipulate this radioactive idea, complex with some degree of safety. He feels like it may have glimpsed him.
Apollyon classification is reserved for highly destructive active anomalies, which are functionally impossible to contain. Something past Keter. An Apollyon class anomaly is an anomaly more or less guaranteed to ultimately destroy the world, no matter what is done to stop it. The only thing which can avert that particular XA class scenario is if something else, likely some other Apollyon class anomaly, destroys the world first. Their relative threat level is measured not in material containment resources, but in inevitable years. Off the top of his head, Hughes would put that figure as a single digit.
Yeah, this is it, he says. It's bizarrely liberating. Yeah, this is the one that's going to kill us. He looks around the table. Did we obtain Apollyon classification? No, 058 says. No? 058 smiles thinly. Current thinking in the Overseer space is that Apollyon classification is a confession of defeat. It's bad for morale. It cultivates defeatist attitudes. Aside from the special classifications, Keter is considered the top of the hierarchy as of right now. All extant Apollons are likely to be re-evaluated and reclassified as Keter over the next year or so. Other than that, what did you think? Hughes says, You want containment procedures. We've had this conversation a bunch of times before, correct? Let's imagine this is the first time, 058 says. Hughes stares darkly at his paper. We could exterminate all intelligent human life. If there are no sapient hosts in this universe, SCP-3125 can't incarnate.
There's a faintly stunned pause. Yes, Wheeler says. We've pitched that approach before. And I don't think any of us here have ever been completely sure if you were serious.
Oh, I'm completely serious that we could do it, and I'm completely serious that it would work, Hughes says. Our mission statement is secure, contain, protect. Somewhere down the line, we really should look into adding and keep as many human beings alive as possible to that. It is implicit that humanity is what we protect, Graves says. Secure the anomalies, contain the anomalies, protect the anomalies. How did it scan otherwise?
We're getting off topic, Wheeler jumps in. We're not exterminating all sapient life.
All right, we could immediately terminate and suppress all memetic and anti-memetic research worldwide, Hughes says. We would have to systematically dismantle the whole scientific field. Forever. Stop all the experiments, scrap all the research, brainwash all the researchers. If nobody actively researches this field, nobody will ever find SCP-3125. It stays buried in the furthest reaches of ideatic space indefinitely, like radioactive waste. He looks up at the ceiling. The problem's pretty interesting. Ironically, the most practical way to do that would be to develop an artificial meme. One which encodes the idea that memetics research is intrinsically worthless and harmful. Enrich it with religious or pseudoscientific virals, release it to the general public. A year after it got out, we would be tearing our own labs down. Unless the Antimemetic Division's institutional immunity to that kind of external threat was strong enough to stand up to the pressure. Interesting scenario. Even if we don't go in that direction, we should definitely think about wargaming it in simulation, see what outcomes are likely to...
Bart.
No, hiding wouldn't work. It could be introduced externally or occur naturally, and...
We know, Bart. That's already happened. SCP-3125 is incarnating as we speak. Look at these precursor anomalies. We're in what you called the foreshadow. It's here.
Wheeler's referring to predictive models, which Hughes must have created himself during prior meetings, models with which he does not have time to familiarize himself with. Still, he gets it. He wishes he didn't get it. His fear comes from a completely different place from most people's. The sheer alien scale of the adversary is enough to intimidate most into petrified submission. From a cursory read, SCP-3125 looks like a nightmare scenario. It is going to turn human civilization into something beyond Hugh's ability to imagine. But that's every Monday in this job. And in any case, Hughes doesn't actually have that much of an imagination. He is intimately familiar with almost the entire SCP database. He is a world authority in anomalous containment. The few areas of science he doesn't have genius-level ability in, he has trusted colleagues who do. They are all solved problems. They are all locked boxes. This is different. He has more ideas, but there is mechanically no way to start working on the problem. It would eviscerate him the moment he tried to comprehend the entire problem. In fact, he needed to design and build the box while already inside the box he was building. He would need to box the universe. He looks around the room's walls. They seem to be holding up. We could hide in units like this for the rest of our lives, he says, our whole species, while SCP-3125 roamed our reality unchecked like a plague. I declare this to be the exterior of the containment unit. Done.
No reaction.
I don't think we can do it, he says. If SCP-3125 is live in consensus nominality right now, then the game is over. I don't care if Apollyon classification lives or dies. From where I'm sitting, this anomaly is functionally uncontainable. My team and I may have said something different on prior iterations. I could be in the wrong headspace to see the answer. We are all of us different people from day to day. No, 058 says. You say the same thing every time. So that's it, is it? Is that it? 058 says, the objective of the Foundation is protection. In the majority of cases, this involves the secure containment of anomalous entities, the establishment of special containment procedures such that such entities can be kept safely and indefinitely. Standard guidance is against active neutralization and to avoid destruction at all costs. Everybody in this room is aware of this. However, senior Foundation officials such as me have the right to waive that guideline under certain narrow conditions. I am exercising that right. I deem that in our reality, SCP-3125 cannot coexist with human civilization. We are going to destroy SCP-3125 forever. Does that change your outlook any? Special neutralization procedures. Use deadpans. His expression is worsening by the minute. 058 adds, I know that neutralization is generally considered easier than mere containment. Hughes says, when I first joined the Foundation, I asked my mentor, who retired many years ago, what is the biggest anomaly we've ever contained? That he was cleared for, I meant, of course. And he told me about a very old rumor he once heard back in his earliest days when he was just starting out. The rumor was that Abrahamic religions had not always been monotheistic. Originally, there were 3 capital G gods, and sometime in the past 150 years, the Foundation had killed 2 of them. I believed him. I was very young and very inexperienced and naive, and honestly, I was kind of in awe. It wasn't until years later that I thought back to the conversation and the fact that I never heard that rumor or anything like it from anybody else and realized he had been bullshitting me. And now, it's decades later still, and modern memeplectic technology is 100 billion times more advanced than it was back then, and I built 30% of it. And I look at what the Antimemetics Coalition handles on a quarterly basis, and I know better than anybody on the face of this earth what is or is not possible, and
he trails off. They're all waiting expectantly for him to say something. He can't get there. He's in the wrong frame of mind. Maybe he's in denial. Maybe the solution is an idea he doesn't want to take on board. How ironic.
What did I say? Just tell me. Your team suggested that just because SCP-3125 is the most powerful memeplectic threat ever observed, that does not mean it is the top of the hierarchy, 058 says. You suggested that it would be possible to synthesize an idea an order of magnitude still more powerful than SCP-3125, specifically designed to neutralize SCP-3125 and under our control. A countermeme. That would take... That could be... possible, Hughes hazards. I mean, it would be insanely dangerous. It would require tremendous resources and 10 to 20 years of real-time work completely uninterrupted. To avoid observation, we need to be hermetically sealed away from the exterior universe for that entire time. We need a lab as big as a launcher. Wait a second.
His brain has just caught up. He realizes the context in which he's saying these things, and he's been working for the Foundation for a long time.
It's done, he says. The lab, it's been built. It was built decades ago, in secret. We put our best researchers inside it, and now the work is done. That's what we're meeting for now. We're ready to go. We're figuring out how to deploy the countermeme. That's brilliant. If I'm right, that's brilliant. Am I right?
Bart, when you joined the Foundation, you were taught that a day would come when you would have to, with very little preparation, sacrifice much or all of your existence to protect what most needs protecting. You've worked here for 30 years, and all of that time you knew that that sacrifice would be in your future someday. We were all taught the same thing. It feels to Hughes as if a shadow falls over him. He looks at Michael Lee, his director, who hasn't spoken yet.
Lee says, "You're right that the lab is built. Construction was completed in the last 48 hours. The construction crew have been amnesticized and dismissed. But the work hasn't begun yet. That's what today is about." Hughes says, "That's where my people are." "That's where your people are," Lee says. "They're in the bunker, waiting. We have your cover story prepped. We're faking your death. It's time. You're going under now." "Now? No, I doubt that. Your team volunteered. I took care of them myself. They're good people," Lee says. "Like hell," Hughes says. "Did I volunteer for this?"
Bart!
Hughes says, "Any prior version of me who agreed to this was a goddamn moron, and I disavow his opinions. This is a prison sentence. I don't want to spend 20 years not able to see the sun. I don't want to be buried alive in work. I have..." He trails off and stares through the table, eyes defocused. He was about to say, "I have family." But he doesn't. There's still his sister. She's Foundation, like him, but he can't talk to her. She can't talk to him. They've tried. He tries another tack. This has a low probability of success. The timeframes are bad. It's just bad. It's 2008. SCP-3125 will be here by the end of the 2010s. It has an excellent probability of success, Graves says. "Define excellent," Hughes replies. "Better than 50%. If it's you." Graves produces a thick report, which presumably backs him up. Hughes peers at the document. He can see his own name on the cover. Oh, God damn it. 50%'s good. If he were anybody else in this room, he'd seize the chance with both hands. Graves goes on. "You convinced us that this had to be done, and that you had to be at the center. You were prepared to make the sacrifice." He opens the document to a page in the back. The eyeball of his germ roves the page rapidly and finds the passage he wants. Allow me to quote your own words to you. SCP-3125 represents an omniversal scale threat. It threatens neighboring realities to ours. It threatens microverses within our macroverse. It threatens universes which embed ours as fiction. Go ahead and think of it as a prison sentence, if it helps. 058 interrupts. Rescind your consent if you'd like. But the next place you're going after this is the bunker. Hughes glances around the room's walls again. He makes it too obvious what he's thinking. The door is locked, Dr. Hughes, 058 says. You aren't exiting until we're through here. What's the cover story? Hughes asks, how are you planning to do it? Am I reading you as Graves? I'm not, am I? You're Wheeler.
I'm Wheeler. Yeah. I can read it if you want.
I got it. A helium gas leak in S167B03312. Graves explains. The leak will be real. There is a forged body in there already, impossible to distinguish from a real one. We've tampered with your public schedule for the day, and it puts you in that room, not this one. As for... He's stalling, 058 says to Graves and the others. He doesn't need to know any of this. Name somebody else, Lee suggests. Being serious, who in the world, other than you, stands a credible chance of solving this problem? Who could we send instead? Hughes says nothing. There's nobody. Really nobody in the world. And he can do it. Lee presses. Is there anybody else? Even if they didn't want to, who has the skills we need, who isn't already in the vault?
The world shifts positions a little. Lee's standing now. Wheeler looks around alertly, gripping the arm of her chair. She has a fountain pen in her fist, uncapped. It's like she just remembered something. 058 glances at Wheeler, puzzled at her reaction to apparently nothing. Hughes doesn't notice anything.
It's just me. It's just you. That's good enough for me.
Hold on a second, Wheeler says.
Lee pulls a gun out of nowhere. Hughes' germ's enormous pupils shrink to violet pinpricks. This is no part of any plan. Everybody in the room knows it. It's a real gun. It's impossible that he could have it. Wheeler starts to rise out of her chair. Her own sidearm is locked in a box outside. Lee aims at Bart Hughes' chest and fires twice. The first round pierces him in the lung. The second round, fired as Hughes collapses, nicks his laptop screen, which is bulletproof, and ricochets up into the meeting room wall. He turns, now aiming at 058. He gets 2 more rounds off, each causing an ear-splitting electronic shriek and a flash of luminous green light as 058's protective ward absorbs the energy. Wheeler lunges at Lee from behind his gun arm, deflecting upwards with one hand while plunging the fountain pen into his throat with the other. Lee struggles. You want to tag in on this?
Wheeler pulls hard, opening his throat all the way up. Lee's fingers loosen and she spirits the gun away. Lee gurgles in agony and stumbles backwards, clutching futilely at the wound. He smashes his head, the germ he's wearing on his head, against a glass meeting room door and slides down it into a spreading red lake. He's been neutralized. There are 2 seconds in which nothing happens.
058's eyes meet Wheeler's. Your thought?
Michael Lee was compromised. I don't know how, she says. She makes the gun safe, holsters it, and vaults over the table to check on Hughes. He's dead, she finds. Graves is dead, too. What in the hell did Graves hit? What just happened to this room? This whole site could be compromised from top to bottom.
I have follow-up questions, 058 begins. A bolt of lethally intense heat and light interrupts him, scorching the wall behind his head. He ducks.
Wheeler turns to track the source, aiming the gun with bloody hands. Something is lasering its way in through the containment airlock. It's a powerful laser wielded with robotic precision. It's happening almost too fast to see.
My personal security, 058 says. It heard the shot.
Call it off! If this unit is breached, 3125 is coming for us all.
The unit's hermetically sealed. I can't send any kind of signal until the door's open.
That's a problem.
The airlock splits and is torn away in segments. An enormous gloss-black armored mechanoid looms in the gap, crouched to peer into the room. It looks exactly as if 058's limo got up and started walking. It's still impossible to guess whether there could be a human pilot inside. Behind, in the distance, Bochner is immobilized, sealed to one of the staging areas with a sizable glob of transparent orange glue.
She screams, "Help!" For Wheeler, it feels as if a black wave rolls over her, pouring into the containment unit from outside. She drops the gun and raises her hands. Being found holding the smoking gun isn't likely to look good, and she doesn't know for sure what heuristics, human or electronic or otherwise, control the mechanoid. It could be prone to making bad decisions.
"Stand down," 058 says to his bodyguard. It stops moving, but its single laser does not, flickering as fast as the eye can follow between 4 motionless targets. Wheeler, Hughes, Graves, Lee. It's waiting for movement.
Lee, not completely dead, twitches. The laser pulses once in retaliation, atomizing his head and germ. The laser settles down to a shorter pattern looping between the 3 remaining targets. Wheeler doesn't move a millimeter.
"I said, stand down."
This time it seems to hear him. The laser clicks off and settles into a neutral position. I'm just snooze one more time. We're running up against an ad break, but I want to finish the chapter. Wheeler relaxes. "Lee was compromised," she says again. She hurries to the back of the room with her medical kit mounted on the wall. "We need to get you out of here. Then we need to do a sterilization on the site."
"Compromised when?" 058 asks. "By whom? I was given to understand that SCP-3125 rendered its victims wholly bodily subordinate to it, biologically incapable of doing anything but propagate its core concepts. But Lee was still high-functioning."
"We've miscalculated something." She throws most of the kit aside, keeping only a strangely shaped capsule with a thin nozzle and pink fluid inside.
"And the gun? We were all searched on entry."
"I don't know. Wheeler can think of several ways to get the gun into the room undetected. It could have been planted in the restroom by Lee on a prior visit. Bochner could be complicit. Perhaps others. She thinks there's an extremely strong chance that the 3 members of Hughes' team have been murdered too. It's all academic now. She applies the capsule to her right wrist and infuses the first half of the dose. It's fast-acting chemical amnestic. She hopes that splitting one dose between the 2 of them will be enough.
"Isn't this the part where SCP-3125 makes an appearance?" 058 suggests. "I certainly feel something in my head, my germ, I should say."
"Me too. Roll up your sleeve. You also need to deactivate your shield for a second."
He obliges, and Wheeler gives him the rest of the drug. Wheeler
sorely wishes the shields were standard issue, but they are exceptionally hard to come by, and there are serious controversies and side effects associated with them. Outside, Bochner has been gurgling and starting to speak in tongues. Now she screams again. When Wheeler looks, something long and dark, sharp as a javelin and bifurcating into filaments, descends from somewhere in the ceiling of the warehouse. It curls around the chair Bochner is glued to and lifts her up into the air. A second thin feeler makes an appearance. It probes Bochner's glue-covered midsection curiously, and then pushes itself through her like a pin through paper. She wails, liters of blood gushing out and splashing to the floor below her. The feeler withdraws, then makes a second hole beside the first, and continues in the same fashion. More spider legs impale 058's mechanoid bodyguard and pull it away from the airlock, rapidly dissecting it into sparking pieces. The laser flashes wildly as the machine dies. It's no use. In the distance, a site-wide containment alarm begins.
"It's a memetic threat," 058 says, mostly to himself. "Where do the arachnoforms come in?"
"Do you have alternate transportation?"
"S167 BO2101. There's an escape pod."
As he says it, Wheeler writes it down on her hand with her bloodied fountain pen. "Underground? You're sure? Is there a code for the door?"
058 lists 5 digits. He clutches his head. His germ is twitching unhappily and changing color and texture, as if an infection is spreading across its pale skin. I can feel it. It's like steel jaws. This is most unpleasant.
"We need to get to the escape pod. There's nothing else that matters. We don't need to remember why. Got it?"
Spider legs reach into the airlock and begin tearing the room to pieces. They are fast-moving, and they are grabby, and they are angry. They know there's something important inside, but they can't get to it. The skull bone is too strong to be broken apart. 058 doesn't have much field experience. The amnestic is blurring his thoughts. I'm deferring to you, he says dozily. Escape pod. Lead on.
Wheeler takes his hand. She's got Lee's gun and the other, a decent amount of ammunition left. With me, she says. She's done this before. She doesn't know it. The warehouse ceiling starts to cave in.
What is it? Where is it? What does SCP-3125 look like? Its motivations, its origins, its modus operandi, how much of that can be known? Does it have to be known to solve the problem? Does it matter how intelligent this intelligence is once it's inside the box, once it's checkmated? And what actinic, mind-wrenching form could the counter-meme take? How could human hands assemble something so devastatingly powerful and hold it steady? What human mind could wield it without exploding from the inside out? What would deploying that concept in anger do to human ideatic space? How far out from the solution is modern memetic science? A year? A century? What insane impossibility has Hughes just committed himself to? He doesn't know anything. He knows Site-167 is coming apart. He knows something violent and psychotic is flooding its corridors and its people. A living, roving swarm which makes every human into the worst possible thing a human can be. A thing which stands wrong, which looks wrong, colorless, furious. He races down the corridors and then down ventilation shafts which will take him deeper. He's small and he has quick, slippery locomotion. He can make it. He can lock himself in. He doesn't know what a germ needs to survive. All he's seen is the cages. He doesn't know Bochner's care routine. Does it live in water? In C. gigante's blood plasma? Is it fed a formula? He needs to reverse engineer his own biology before he starts. He doesn't know the model of his mind. It hurts to think. But he can think.
And let's take a little break there. Am I going to spend?
Are we doing the next one as well?
Yeah. We're going to do the next chapter as well. We got we got a little bit of time. That was a pretty intense one, but hang on, I'm trying to remember how long this chapter is. It's quite long. It's okay. Hang on. I gotta go back. Scroll faster. Okay. Blood/brain.
There's no day-night cycle. Something like a week into his trek, Wheeler realizes that he can perform an experiment. He selects a building with a high ceiling to sleep in, a library. Before turning in, he sets up a Foucault pendulum. I said Foucault. He suspends a heavy rock by wire from the ceiling and sets it swinging. The following morning, the slow pendulum is still swinging, and it has precessed. It's swinging at about a right angle from the mark he made before he went to sleep. That means the world's still spinning. On reflection, he doesn't know if it proves anything. It's not clear whether the sun or the moon still exist, or any celestial object at all other than the red-black eye socket at the horizon. The eye never moves. It casts long, threatening shadows, while being bright enough to blind Wheeler whenever he has to walk in that approximate direction, which is about half the time. Regardless of the physical evidence, it doesn't feel as if he's walking on a real Earth or that he is fully awake. He feels like an ant, crawling across the face of a rough-hewn monolith, crawling into and out of the runes chiseled into the face of that monolith, runes which form an unstoppable apocalyptic mythology. He has migraines, and there are blotchy, multicolored zigzags in his vision by the end of most days. He feels as if the whole world is perpetually dropping away beneath his feet, like he and it are both plummeting into an abyss.
He has not been caught yet. The violent phenomenon Ulrich warned him about have not appeared, which makes him feel increasingly lucky and nervous. He carries a looted gun, which he's practiced with a little. He's a better shot than he would have guessed using his right hand alone. His left hand, the mangled one, does nothing but shake. He has to keep it clutched to his chest when shooting. The gun gives him less reassurance than he'd like. It feels as if were he to end up in a situation, it could metamorphose in suddenly from a working firearm into a fiddly metallic liability, an explosive distraction in his pocket. On occasion, on the horizon, he sees a skyscraper-sized figure stalking past. He holds still or hides, and it doesn't see him. Other than that, the world is seemingly deserted, standing empty like an overturned car in a muddy ditch. Open doors, lights still blinking. Wheeler feels detached, lucky, guilty.
He keeps away from cities. He has not yet come within eyeshot of a sarcophagus. Ulrich was evasive in describing them, and advised him in the strongest possible terms to stay away from them, but on another, for want of a better word, night, he selects a bad place to camp, where the wind and the local geography funnel the noise from one of the sarcophagi up to him from the valley. And that noise, despite its faintness and distance, cultivates such intense and intolerable nightmares that he has to get up, pack up again, and walk further away, as many more miles as it takes. The noise creates in him things which he dearly wants not to be flashbacks.
He goes into a shop and, along with packaged food and bottled water, steals a cheap digital wristwatch. It has a date function. Today is Monday, the 17th of April. It's just gone lunchtime. Time is still passing. On some level, all of this is factual. It's happening.
And if it's really happening, then what? There is no longer any ambiguity about what specifically is happening, not in Wheeler's mind, or in anyone's. The world has long since passed through SCP-3125's antimemetic boundary layer and into its radioactive core. There is no longer a need for SCP-3125 to pretend that it is not what it plainly is. What else could it be? What difference could it make now? What could oppose it? It stands there in plain sight. Wheeler sees it. All of conscious reality sees it. It's happening everywhere to everyone. It is not physically possible to conceive of anything else.
There's no worst case scenario than what's happening now. There's no race against time. There's no ticking clock. There's no last second. The last second was years ago. There's nothing to avert. This is it, the final game position, the highest and most refined form of human civilization. This is the shape of the next 1,000,000 years. 3125 stands there, monstrous, casual, and indifferent.
And Wheeler is alone with his thoughts for a long period of time and has little else to think about. And he wrinkles his brow and he blinks a long blink, and then he looks again and he realizes what it was that he wasn't seeing.
SCP-3125 is standing there, like a human stands.
He reaches Site-41 at the beginning of May. His body clock has wandered far out of skew by this point. It's technically around midnight when he first lays eyes on the place. There is a protective field surrounding it, stamped into reality by the detonation of the antimemetic warhead, radiating out a few hundred meters beyond the site's perimeter. It's a psychological repulsion, not a physical one, a thick bulwark of irrelevance. There's nothing here, just keep walking. Despite being warned about it, Wheeler succumbs to the effect. 30 minutes walk down the road, he double-checks his map, realizes what's happened and turns back. Happens a second time. In the third attempt, he makes it through. Dead reckoning and willpower.
For some reason, he had been imagining an ancient, dramatically overgrown ruin. But the containment breach which led to the site's destruction happened only 18 months ago, and the bomb blast which concluded the outbreak was figurative, not physical. About a third of Site-41's main building has been torn down, but the rest is perfectly intact and unmarred. Mother Nature has not reclaimed it. Gnarled trees are not sprouting from the damaged side. Wheeler exhales. There is still safe atmosphere around the place. It's as if Site-41 has its own cool microclimate. It's easier to think. Even the light here is fractionally yellower, more natural. The site's main entrance is sealed with steel doors, but Wheeler circles around to the damaged side of the building and is able to effect entry over the rubble. He moves at a medium slow pace. He can't afford to blunder into anything, but if he goes too slowly, he knows he'll overthink the situation and become scared and have to retreat all the way out of the building. The late Daisy Ulrich promised him that the site was safe. She then went to rather disconcerting lengths to explain precisely what safe meant. No entities capable of spontaneously, actively harming a person. No entities in need of active, dynamic containment procedures. A safe SCP can be left in a dark, locked room indefinitely with no risk, she explained. A nuclear bomb is safe, she said, giving the canonical example.
Well, he replied, to a point. The site is safe, he tells himself, creeping forward. The most dangerous things he's going to find are rats, and he jumps back, aiming his flashlight at a frightening-shaped corpses. The corpse is seated against a corridor wall. It's clutching a combat knife, which it seems to have buried up to the hilt in its own inner thigh, opening a gushing artery. Wheeler backs up against a wall, unable to look closely at the body, but equally unable to let it out of his sight in case it does something. He feels faint. It doesn't help that at that exact moment, the fluorescent lights in the corridor come up, triggered by his movement, giving him a much better look at the scene. The scene is about as bloody as any suicide it can be. No, thank you, he says. He backs up. He backs all the way up the corridor and through the ruin to the virulent red place which passes for daylight, and then he throws up.
It takes a long time to talk himself back into it. He finds many more bodies. Some of them are in groups, having died during violent altercations or more complex scenes which Wheeler cannot fully parse. Some of them are dismembered or just scattered pieces. Some of them appear to have been dead for significantly longer than the rest. They are little more than wafer-thin skin wrapped around skeletons, and there are strange things written on the walls beside them. Wheeler never works out why. There's still power. There's still running water. At first, nearly every door he meets is locked, but he steels his nerves and returns to each of the dead Foundationers in turn and retrieves their keys and security passes. Soon he has the run of the place, with only a few highly secure control rooms and containment units denied to him. At this point, his task has become open-ended. If Hughes is not somewhere on Site 41, which he almost certainly isn't, Wheeler needs to find information leading to his true location. He needs data.
He collects devices, phones, laptops, computer terminals, Foundation built with chunky form factors. Most of them need passwords or pins, which he can't get, but a few can be unlocked using security passes or biometrics, which he can get if he carries the device back to the relevant corpse and presents their face or finger to the scanner.
Point for Marguerite.
The devices still have power, too. Wheeler is unable to find anything resembling a battery readout on any of them. He is slowly learning a key lesson. The Foundation builds things to endure. And though the Foundation as a group of people is absent, the physical systems they built are still here, and functioning, and ready.
The SCP database is the most obvious icon on every device's home screen. Ulrich told him to look out for a particular sigil, concentric circles with 3 inward-pointing arrows. Inevitably, like an uncounted member of newcomer Foundationers before him, Wheeler loses a significant number of hours browsing the entries. The Foundation has a specific and recognizable house style, which is to describe even the most mind-bogglingly weird anomalies in absolutely mundane, factual terms. Even heavily redacted, different users see different amounts of data, different amounts of redaction, but there's plenty of data which he can't access no matter whose identity he uses. It makes for bizarrely compelling reading. Hughes is mentioned numerous times in the database. He seems to have multiple overlapping research specialities and is credited in many entries as a containment architect. Wheeler takes detailed notes, assembling a picture of the man's career progression, and then randomly stumbles into the Foundation's own personnel records for Hughes, which line up almost exactly with what he just worked out. And yes, I totally think about this as people browsing the wiki. There are huge holes in the personnel record. The last entry relating to Hughes's actual activities is in 2007. And then in 2010, after a gap of years, there is a final note, a single unauthored sentence. It appears that those who knew Hughes's fate met it. End of file.
Wheeler frowns at the unhelpful note for a long minute. It reads like a riddle. Wheeler was for a long time a crossword puzzle fiend, but it seems improbable to him that a clandestine organization like the Foundation would leave cryptic clues for one another rather than clear, direct instructions, which means the note is probably intended to be read simply and literally. Don't look for Hughes unless you want to meet the same fate. Wheeler tilts his chair back and stares at the ceiling contemplatively. On the other hand, the note also means Hughes can be found. It's been done before. There's no day-night cycle, but he's worn out. His body is telling him that he needs to sleep, so he sleeps on a sofa in an employee break room on the far side of the building from the Red Eye. There is a snack machine, and there are snacks in the machine, but he doesn't have any cash. He considers breaking the glass, but if he screws it up and cuts himself badly, there is not a single doctor left in the whole world who could stitch him up. He considers, and rules out, looting the nearest corpse for $1. As he tries to sleep, something comes to him, an acute, anxious energy. It grips him by the shoulder. Get up! It screams at him distantly. You cannot rest! Do the arithmetic! It's all still happening! Move! He rolls over and ignores it. And it bothers him intellectually that he can ignore it. He wonders if there is some vital organ missing from his body. He should be quivering with anger and terror right now, yes? Why in his heart is he so calm? He looks at SCP-3125, whose very existence, on paper, should paralyze him with fear. He looks at what SCP-3125 is doing, which should fill every fiber of his being with furious purpose. And he looks at his own significance to the whole endeavor, and his own guesstimate of the odds. He does the arithmetic. And the product of all those factors rounds down to damn near zero. This isn't going to work. That's why this has to stop. It has to end, please. Curled up in his sleeping bag, eyes screwed shut, Adam Wheeler mutters to whatever may be listening. It isn't going to work.
Near the site entrance, he can't figure out how to unlock the steel doors even from this side. He finds a security office with printed floor plans of the whole site. He crosses off the rooms he's visited and the rooms which are destroyed. Everything remaining is locked. Above ground, anyway. Underground, there are warrens of tunnels and dozens more containment units, and 30 floors below ground. A single, incredibly large vault of unstated purpose. The final vault draws his attention in magnetically. Ulrich assured him that the site was totally safe. As the freight elevator descends, Wheeler finds that a kind of anxious pressure is building above him. The air is rapidly getting warmer, and he's just realized that if the elevator breaks down right now, he'll likely be helplessly trapped and die. He shouldn't have used it. He should have taken the emergency stairs. Too late. The elevator lands. There's an empty corridor. He follows it, drawn forward. There's an airlock at the far end, a wall of white metal big enough to drive a truck through. The airlock is closed, but there are 7 or 8 overlapping circular holes punched through it, making a combined gap which is easily big enough to admit a human. Beyond the airlock, there is a vast, dark space. Wheeler has climbed through the hole and walked 5 paces out into the darkness before he even thinks about what he's doing. There are shapes out there, illuminated by the scant light falling from the airlock corridor, lumps which could be more dead people. Wheeler's own shadow blocks much of the light. He takes out his torch. It is absolutely silent down here, and the temperature is uncomfortable, making him sweat. The rest of the huge vault, as far as he can shine his light, is totally empty. But his torch is not powerful enough to illuminate a space this big, so it's hard to be certain. He advances. A loud tone is building in his ears as he gets closer. There are, he counts, 14 dead. 13 of them dead in a rough circle around a 14th, a woman lying flat on her back. Just outside of the circle, there is a military truck with the inert remains of a complex machine mounted on its back. This, Wheeler surmises, is the antimemetic warhead. There's a cable leading down to a control unit lying on the floor, under the hand of the dead woman.
He says with a note of regret. So you're the one.
Her security pass looks different from the others. It has a bright diagonal stripe across it in red and orange. He takes it. There is a roaring in his skull. He can't see it clearly at first. Something is disturbing his vision. A gold-white spot in the corner of his eye, an artifact from the combination of extreme darkness and bright torchlight. He squints. The badge says, Marion Wheeler, Site Director. He stares at it for a long time, weirdly disoriented. He doesn't exactly know why. It is, of course, a very commonplace name. If he stopped to gawp at every other Wheeler he'd met, he would never get anything done. Still, she's the one with her hand on the switch. She's the one who ended this local outbreak. Out of every dad foundationer on this damn site, she's the one who didn't die for no reason at all. He feels as if he should say a few words, but they do not come to him.
He makes one quick circuit around the vault perimeter, scanning the floor and the wall, looking for anything interesting and finding nothing but construction tools and scaffolding. He returns to the airlock and then the freight elevator. He glares at it for a long, frustrated moment and then accepts that it would be unsafe to use it again. The emergency stairwell is perfectly well lit, but 30 floors is a mountain. 3 times on the way up, he has to stop to rest his knees.
The site director's pass gets him everything. Every control room, every containment unit, every file. He gets the whole story. He puts the last piece in place. He leaves a note, following the same hopeless, diligent rituals as the rest of the Antimemetics division before him. He emerges from SCP-3125's inverted containment unit with extremely clear written instructions from himself to himself. He knows exactly where he needs to go. You'll know where to come in. As he moves down the forest road away from the site, he reaches and crosses the edge of the antimemetic crater. He squares his shoulders, re-entering the presence of SCP-3125. His inner ear starts free-falling again.
Where were you just now? Someone calls out to him. He stops walking. He squints into the intense light ahead of him, shielding his eyes. He can just about make out a figure standing there. The trees on each side of them rustle and move. They're too tall. Spider scrapers. A wave of dread hits Wheeler, followed closely by one of perverse relief. This is it. Why can't I track you? The unidentified man says. His voice sounds faint. You're so weak. It's like you don't exist. I wasted 2 days trying to pick you up again. What's wrong with you? Wheeler says nothing.
The man is closer. He didn't walk, but the distance between them halves, and his voice is easier to hear, though he is still too bright to look at. His body structure blurs and flickers.
You're not one of them, and you're not one of us, and you're definitely not the hero. You don't count for shit, memetically. Why are you wasting your time on this? Whatever the fuck this is. You should just kill yourself. It's not going to work.
Wheeler knows that. The light collapses. The figure smashes into focus, becoming physical. It's a real human. A skinny 20-something, scruffy, uncut hair and a sketchy beard. He is shirtless, and there is a deep black pit in his clavicle, a hole where he has clearly been very badly wounded. Blood has run down his chest, soaked his jeans and forearms, and dried black. Fresh blood is still coming up, building on thick layers which shouldn't be possible. Wheeler doesn't spot the second hole in his gut, obscured by too much blood. Wheeler is trying to keep his expression neutral, but he knows it isn't working. He can feel his left hand, his bad hand, starting to shake. A part of him still wants to ask the guy why. There's no possible answer.
This is what the human race really is, the man explains, spreading his hands to gesture at the whole world. We lied to ourselves that we could be better for thousands of years, but this is it. This is what we have always been. We have never been anything else.
Wheeler begins, then stops, suddenly remembering something. He claps his left hand to his chest, draws his right, and shoots. It's a good shot. It's a lucky shot. It takes the man directly in the eyeball and blows out the back of his skull. He falls, twisting as he falls, landing on his broken face. Wheeler gasps, remembering to breathe. He almost drops his gun. He gets a tighter grip on it, keeping it aimed at the blasted ruin of the man's head. He wants to throw up. He controls himself, in through the mouth, out through the nose. He's okay. Let him talk for too long, he says, apologetically. He pulls out a Foundation brick phone from his pack. He pushes some buttons, entering coordinates, and then retreats far down the road. He retains visual contact with the dead man for as long as possible, then turns away and kneels, placing the phone on the road beside him. Following the detailed instructions he found in the control room, he grinds his palms into his eyes and presses his face against the ground, and he says,
Acleone Xenorai. Fire.
The orbital laser strike comes diagonally. A petition to stop out letting Alistair read horrific things in a creepy voice just before bedtime. We'll do some fun, don't worry. The orbital laser strike comes diagonally. It lasts for a split second and is easily bright enough in the visible spectrum to have instantly blinded him if he had been looking. When Wheeler returns to the scene, there's no body left. Just a scorched ellipse of asphalt.
He says to the scorch mark, I was going to say something along the lines of, that's a lie. That's what you are. You're the lie.
And if the bastard can regenerate from that, I'm done. Well and truly done for. He looks up. The atmosphere isn't changing. The sky isn't returning to blue. There's still that heinous pressure. 3125 remains the dominant force in the universe. But as he turns, hearing movement in the forest all around him, he realizes that the immense spider forms, he'd sincerely forgotten about them, they were standing there so quietly, are dispersing.
Next week, the conclusion.
And next week we will conclude. I know it's almost 11 o'clock. I know we're almost out of time, but as Wendy said, you and the creepy voice is not how we all want to go to bed tonight. So why don't we take one final little 3-minute stretch break, everybody, and then for those of you who want to stick around for a little bit longer, we'll do something a little more lighthearted before we call it a night. I love the idea of Chekhov's orbital laser cannon. That makes me very happy. Actually, we'll talk about it in the interview more, but I love how these ending chapters are tying all of these bits and pieces back together.
It's so neat.
It's so nice. And how odd and bizarre and sweet and heartbreaking it is for Adam to find Marion's body. And
not yet know it's her.
Exactly. Oh, so poignant.
Fucking Daisy.
More problems should be resolved with orbital lasers, right? Gears of War did not lie to us.
I have a friend who argued very passionately for a long time that any movie that passed the hand crossbow hypothesis was actually very good and worth your time. The hand crossbow hypothesis was this: can you solve the problem inherent in the film by shooting the villain in the head with a hand crossbow in the first 5 minutes? And if the answer is yes, it's a bad movie. Or rather, if the answer is yes and no one does it, it's a bad movie.
I see. Okay.
I think he had seen Time Cop at a very pivotal moment where two Uzi 9mm and the American Civil War meet with hilarious circumstances.
Fun fact, I saw Seagal in a theater before I knew what Chekhov's gun was. Oh, Seagal, the play. Oh, nice. Okay, well done. It is a very good hypothesis. Right, so let us do a little bit of relaxation. What if the answer is yes and someone tries but fails? Then it's high art.
Yeah, and then it's either literature or the Evil Leaper episode of Quantum Leap.
Yes, exactly. Oh gosh, we're still very wiped out here. I'm trying to...
A little bit 90s indie. Oh, there we are.
Trying to get the lighting balance working. It's just... we close the windows because it's too noisy outside.
Fucking warmdy.
It's getting fucking warmdy in here. So, quick. All right. Ooh, I can feel a breeze coming from that open window. That's nice. Ask an executive. We are on Chapter 4. What to do when others in your organization avoid/circumvent me. Still you shenanigans. Yes, Shiny Opals. We're on Chapter 4. We are getting there. Good night, Wendy. Have a good evening. I think I was spared Steven Seagal movies throughout your life.
Would you like to know the one Steven Seagal movie you should watch? Executive Decision.
I'm prepared for this.
I'm prepared, y'all. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Executive Decision.
Okay.
You'll understand why it's the only Steven Seagal movie you should watch about 20 minutes in. But if I also tell you Kurt Russell, then...
Okay, Kurt Russell can do no wrong. So
it's basically Kurt Russell as Jack Ryan.
Poop. I might have to see this.
It's a good time.
This is your fault. Right.
Everything is. I regret nothing.
Have a good night, Reef Shark. Good night to anybody who needs to leave early, leave on time. We're just going to do one chunk of shenanigans so that there's no nightmare fuel for people if they need not to go to bed on the nightmare fuel that is Alistair's 3125 voice. Thank you very much. This is a letter from long-running emailer Cult Guy. If you're not caught up on his emails, please click here to check out his tag, or else you'll be missing some context for the below.
Dear Abigail, I hope you and yours are well. I'm afraid I'm having an issue with confrontation, or rather, lack of it. My team, Dahlia, Melody, and Basima, have informed me that they have been approached repeatedly about standards around the office by other departmental managers, i.e. those hierarchically equivalent to me. Apparently, the state of our specific office our team inhabits the basement is unprofessional and smells musty, and the damp rots the papers, and the laundry hanging up to dry is unacceptable. Melody, in particular, is furious. She believes this to be a gendered issue, as I am the only one of the team not approached despite being the manager, and am also the only one who is not a woman. Dahlia said she wouldn't be surprised if that played into it, as it used to happen all the time at her last job. Basima, on the other hand, says that the rest of the organization is afraid of me, so of course they won't approach. I, unfortunately, must give some credence to Basima's theory. I tend to be avoided these days. Dahlia just laughed at Basima's idea and said, "Nah, he just looks like someone who clearly wouldn't notice a bunch of bras hung up around the office," and to her credit, I had not. Why would I? They're strung above my head. Anyway, I used my increasingly dubious credit card details to purchase a couple of dehumidifiers, since the damp actually isn't good for the papers. That should hopefully improve the mustiness. However,
that is the most dude solution to that problem ever.
Buy a couple of humidifiers, sorted. However, have you any suggestions about what to say to back seat managers? Especially those who are too afraid to talk to me. I think jumping out at them in the break room upstairs while they're making tea would probably be playing into it a bit much, wouldn't it? Thank you for your answer. Cult Guy.
Dear Cult Guy, always a pleasure to hear from you. At the risk of coming across as unsympathetic to whatever nonsense has befallen you this week, I feel the need to state that, absent any other information, I am, at least on the facts, siding with the other departmental managers. Please tell your team to stop hanging their laundry up to dry at work. It is unprofessional. Don't you have members of the public come to your office? It's also bad for paperwork, and in general, a damp environment can promote mold growth, which is extremely unhealthy. It's also unfair to the janitorial staff to have to work around this many personal items. I'm also concerned as to why there is laundry being hung up at the office. It implies you're all working extremely unhealthy hours. Not least the fact that Dahlia doesn't even work there. Why is she treating it as her second home? Please encourage your team, including Dahlia, to spend most of their time at their own residences. I'm sorry, I'm not chocolate it because it's getting very, very dark. It's very, very dark. Regarding the other departmental managers, you are correct that they should not be bringing these issues up with your team. They should ideally not have to address these issues at all because you deal with them yourself. However, if they have a concern or a problem with your team or its management, they should be in a position to bring that up with you directly. It is perfectly acceptable of you to talk to them regarding this and ask them to bring any future concerns to yourself directly. Either seek them out one at a time or email them individually. Simply stating what you want in those words politely and professionally is acceptable. As a note, if I recall in a previous email, you did specify that Marvin was redirecting the other managers when they attempted to talk to you. It is possible they have taken this to be a sign to not attempt to contact you, even if Marvin is not within your department at the moment. When talking to the other managers, you may wish to reassure them that your inbox or door is open for this necessary issue. It may be worth explaining this previous period as a particularly busy time for you is now over. That said, if you truly believe the other managers fear you, then that's quite a concern. You've not detailed why you think that, but if you've done something more serious than has been detailed in these emails, then I would urge you to reflect on that. You may need to make some quite significant apologies and behavior changes to even hope to start to regain trust. Fear is a very strong emotion. However, without knowing the details, it's hard for me to give any more advice than that. Basima may, of course, be wrong.
Thank you for your advice. To confirm, we are living in the office most of the time, hence the laundry. I pay to use the dryers at the laundrette. But when I suggested this to the others, the answers I got were varied and negative. You can't tumble dry bras.
You can't.
To be fair, I do know. And Mr. Bougie on his management salary were the two main themes. I would also like to state that we typically don't see members of the public down here these days.
Thank God for small favors.
And most of the laundry is behind the shelving unit.
I really don't think that's the point, my dude.
Why are you living in the office this time? Largely for safety reasons. A certain amount of the danger we are under is mitigated if we all remain together.
I don't suppose me bringing up the fire code, insurance issues, janitorial issues, work-life balance, life quality issues, mold inhalation, and various other problems will have any impact at this point? Will they? Since they didn't in 2016?
Not particularly. I'm aware it's not overly desirable, though we are saving quite a lot in rent, but most of these are secondary concerns to our survival. Besides, after the bioterror attack in 2016, our office had a full decontamination. We're working in one of the safest asbestos-filled basements in the city.
Oh my god, please tell me you're joking.
Actually, I just did some research, and ironically, asbestos may be one of the few horrors we are actually safe from, given the age of the building we work in actually predates the common use of it in construction. I can't fully account for renovations over the years, of course, so best not to think too hard about it.
Please tell me that even if you live at work, you're not just working all the time, though, like you do movie nights and things like that.
As you might have read in a previous email, we've been known to go drinking. We're not exactly friends, but I certainly don't expect them to work just because they're at work, if that is your concern.
I'm worried about you as well, dude. You should also start working and watch some TV sometime. Even if this was just a normal job, I'd say this. You know I would.
Yes, I suppose I do. I understand your point. There's just a lot going on right now.
I feel so called out when I hear that.
If I stop, I'll never find the answers. I'll never be able to help Marvin or the others. I'm so close to a breakthrough. I just know it.
I hope so, dude, but I feel like you've been saying something like that for years now. Just take care.
I don't think this impacts anything, but for what it's worth, Dahlia now officially is employed as my assistant / a member of the cult. She found the paperwork and signed up.
What?
Jesus Christ, why?
Maybe she just wanted to get paid, lol.
What the hell is her endgame here? It's hard to explain. Her position as a free agent afforded her one specific disadvantage that she could eliminate by doing this. She decided the cost was worth it. I hope she's right.
That sounds extremely naive. People accidentally join cults. Yeah, I can buy that, but Dahlia, as you've described her, is dangerous, ruthless, an attempted murderer, and now she's deliberately joining a cult for some supposed benefit that you can't even articulate? How is this not obvious to you that there is something going on here?
Thank you for your opinion.
Hey, cult guy, why do you think people are afraid of you?
Well, I, personally, occupy a unique position in the cult hierarchy. I'm something of a symbol, I suppose.
That's what I'm putting it.
And with that, I have both symbolic and literal power. The others in the building don't truly know about the existence of the cult, but they see something in me, and as such, I am avoided. Alternatively, I just have a bad attitude and no one wants to talk to me. That's Melody's theory.
Fucking what?
What the hell does this mean, OP?
So is cult guy Tom Cruise?
Okay, seriously, accidentally in a cult and now you're a cult leader. Abigail, I appreciate these stories get you a lot of clicks, but I'm getting uncomfortable promoting this guy. We have no idea what sort of agenda he's got. If that is a decision Abigail comes to, then I will, of course, respect it. I want to be clear that I'm not a cult leader in the truest sense. I suppose I might more accurately be classed as a sacrificial lamb. Neither of these terms match truly. However, Eli wants me for something, and while that is the case, I am trapped in a web I can't escape. And while I am useful, I am afforded certain protection.
Dude, what the hell? How do you sound so calm about this?
Oh, I assure you I'm not. I've just grown somewhat used to it.
The purpose of this blog has always been for people to be able to write in about issues they are having in the workplace. While many of this OP's emails are unconventional, they typically still relate to questions of workplace etiquette, professionalism, and other on-topic queries, borrowing the occasional update, which is something allowed of most people who write in. If they didn't, I would direct him to other more generalized advice blogs. If I felt he'd been unable to provide evidence for any particularly outlandish aspects of his email and was embarking on a creative writing exercise, I would not publish them. I've never had a policy that those who write to me must be good people or work for good organizations, and I don't intend to start now. I do not believe any of the emails and responses posted here have promoted the idea of joining a cult. But if you'd like to point out any specific areas of concern, I will address them.
Our fave is problematic. Lol.
Right? Like, lol. The web touch. Oh, nice writing.
Beautifully
well done, Tiny. Beautiful writing. Nicely done there.
All right.
I think we'll leave it there for the night because we're already running a bit overstream. So we will pick it up next time with working with a coworker who'd rather not work with you.
I wonder who that could be.
I hope it's the return of Pratt. Because I like him. Right. Let us tell the fine folks. Hang on a second. Yes, I see the word Pratt. Yes. That will make me happy. All right. Let us tell the fine folks where they can find us this coming week.
They can next
It is Wednesday, right?
It is. It fucking Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a weird week, y'all.
They can next find us on Friday when the next issue of The Full Lid, our pop culture newsletter, will go live. There's all kinds of good stuff in there. We're looking at an amazing African science fiction anthology show that's on Disney Plus at the moment.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of animated shorts, and a couple of them in particular are brilliant. Really good stuff.
There's some wonderful art as the interstitials, and Brennan Lee Mulligan fights the Declaration of Independence as our play out.
You didn't know you needed this in your life.
Trust me.
But you do. There we go.
Then on Sunday, we'll be back with Coffee Talk.
Coffee Talk!
I think we are running up on the much-rumored cameo of the lads pretty quick.
The lads, one of which is 1 pixel taller?
Yes.
Oh, I'm really hoping for that. That would be very enjoyable.
And then...
And where last week we learned probably a bit too much about Hyde's backstory.
Hyde might have killed a whole bunch of people. Definitely had a whole bunch of sex.
And
might be Rembrandt.
Might be Rembrandt's. Yeah, it was a whole thing. It was quite enjoyable. And then we'll be back here next week for the
grand finale.
Conclusion?
Oh, the ending's great. I love the ending.
I like the ending a lot as well. And then some more shenanigans, so nobody goes to bed on nightmare fuel, for sure. And I think we don't have anything else to announce or anything.
We don't.
I don't know. It's late. I'm tired.
Thank you so much for joining us, folks. Thanks to Quantum for being in the chat.
Yes,
as always,
absolutely.
Really appreciated. Wendy, please enjoy the cacaos. Those fine folks of you catching us on the VOD in the halls of Valhalla, please enjoy.
Yes.
We'll see you next time. In the meantime, I've been Alistair.
I'm Marguerite.
And this has been fun.
Have a good night, everybody.